Bleeding purple and gold from the heart of Los Angeles. This is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. As always, we're powered by CLNS Media and LakersNation.com, your home for everything Lakers. Tons to talk about in the world of the Los Angeles Lakers. But first, if you guys could do me a quick favor, head over to bit.ly/Lakers survey. Take a quick survey. It seriously takes you about 15 seconds. Helps us out with our advertisers so that we bring you the products that you are really interested in. Again, that's go to bit.ly/Lakers survey. Okay, bit.ly/Lakers survey. It seriously takes 15 seconds. Definitely helps us out. So we'd certainly appreciate that. So we're heading into the All-Star break. Tons going on. I'm looking ahead to the schedule coming up. We've got a million different things to talk about in the world of the Los Angeles Lakers right now. So joining me is Alan Sliwa of ESPN. Alan, you just did your show for 2 hours. Now you're hopping on here to talk more Lakers basketball. Thanks so much for doing this. And I think the great thing is you never get tired of talking Lakers basketball, right?
Trev, I think that's what we have in common, you and I. We can talk Lakers and never get sick of it. And you know, as today was apparent, as yesterday was apparent, there's always obviously a lot of big topics that are not just local. They're nationally they're national stories, and they're always circling around the Lakers.
Yeah, you know, and I said it at first that we were going to talk about this later, but since you mentioned it, national stories, this whole tampering thing with the 76ers and the NBA investigating Magic Johnson because Ben Simmons wants to talk, it's all ridiculous to me. Ben Simmons wants to talk to Magic Johnson because he is a legend, because he is an NBA legend. He's one of the best players ever. He doesn't want to talk to him because he's running the Lakers front office or anything like that, but we're so sensitive to anything that could possibly even look like tampering if it involves the Lakers that this is where we are now, that even the thought of someone from another team speaking to Magic Johnson sparks an investigation.
Yeah, this is the Lakers under a microscope, and that's where the franchise is now. And look, I'm sure there's a lot of executives, NBA owners, GMs. It's apparent that they don't, obviously want to see the Lakers succeed in any capacity. And look, the Lakers have probably rubbed a lot of teams the wrong way, whether that's, the Paul George where the Lakers actually were fined $500,000 for tampering, or it was the way this AD stuff went down with Anthony Davis and Clutch Sports, and obviously the ties between Clutch Sports and LeBron James. And Ben Simmons is part of Clutch Sports, so a little spark will create a wildfire when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers. And whether it's right or it's wrong, I think the Lakers just have to be extra cautious because the NBA and not necessarily the NBA, but a lot of owners, executives, and GMs certainly don't have the Lakers on the top of their list as franchises that they want to deal with right now.
Yeah, if there wasn't already enough animosity towards the Lakers from other teams around the league, it just seems to be growing. I mean, teams didn't want to see the Lakers come back, but now they feel like the Lakers are doing underhanded things or whatever, and that's sort of fueling this fire here. But do you think the Lakers get fined in this instance? I mean, Magic Johnson did name another team's player while he was giving while he was speaking to the media. Is that a finable offense? And if so, do you think this will be more than just a slap on the wrist?
No, I don't think he'll get fined in this one. That interview Elton Brand was on, I think it's called The Sports Fanatic in Philadelphia today, and he was talking about the incident. And from what I understood, or from what I gathered, Elton Brand had basically, as Ben Simmons and his people wanted to talk to Hall of Famers and players that used to play the game, why wouldn't he? His game is very similar to Magic's game in the sense their first 2 years in the NBA, but it sounded like there's nothing there. So I'd be more surprised if the Lakers get fined than if they didn't.
Yeah, and you know what? Ramona Shelburne was just tweeting out a little bit ago that it was really just a sort of a mistake. It was it was Ben Simmons' brother apparently who mentioned something to someone on the 76ers staff about how it would be cool to speak to Magic just because they're, like you said, the similarities in their game. And so then that person contacted the Lakers, and then the Lakers contacted Elton Brand, who hadn't been in the loop. And so he was kind of caught off guard by this whole thing. And both sides just kind of said, no, this probably isn't the best idea. And that was the end of it. And here we are. But then Magic mentioned something the other day. And so now we're hearing about the league investigating it. Yeah, I agree. I don't think anything should come of this. But then again, I don't think Magic should be fined for saying Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to win championships in Milwaukee with the Bucks, and yet still he got fined. So who knows what happened. I wouldn't be surprised if he got fined, I guess what I should say, but I don't think he should be.
Yeah, and listen, the league is extra sensitive right now. The Lakers just have to be they just got to be cautious about it. They don't obviously want to put themselves in a position where they're unable to go after certain free agents, or it's if there's growing momentum and sentiment that teams don't want to deal with the Lakers, because the Lakers, like we saw with this, the trying to make a trade for Anthony Davis with the Pelicans wanted nothing to do with the Lakers, so that could continue to be the case with not just the Pelicans but other teams. Hopefully that's not the case.
I feel like this was, and not to go too far into the Anthony Davis thing, because I know that's been kind of covered ad nauseum, but I felt like there was a good amount of spite from the Pelicans that was preventing them from even considering an offer from the Lakers, because given what they offered and what everybody knows they offered, I'm still in shock that the Pelicans wouldn't at least consider getting this thing done with now. I don't think that what the Lakers offered is some subpar deal or something where they were trying to fleece the Pelicans or anything like that. It seemed like the Lakers really threw pretty much everything the Pelicans could possibly ask for at them, and yet they still couldn't get the time of day. And I think that's got to be frustrating for the Lakers and really surprising. I mean, I don't know that the Pelicans are going to get an offer quite that good this summer.
I had had on the show today a beat writer from The Athletic who covers the Pelicans in New Orleans, and I kind of framed the same question. Let's get a perspective from the Pelican side. We're obviously all we're going to be as objective as we can, but we're Laker fans at the same time. So their theory was he never felt like the Pelicans, no matter what the Lakers offered, were going to make a deal. And I think there were two reasons behind it. Number one, I do think it's a strategy of legitimately wanting to see what the Celtics would throw into the mix. And now you have teams that are going to they have 4 months to figure out what they would give up for Davis if a sweepstakes starts in the summer. So I think that was one part of it. The second part of it was, like you mentioned, Trevor, they don't want to deal with the Lakers. That's the bottom line. They don't want to feel like they're forced to have to deal with the Lakers, to dealing with the Lakers, and here's their franchise player that's obviously going to leave. Well, we don't care what the Lakers want. We don't care what the Lakers offer. We just want to make sure that we get into the summer, and in my opinion, we'll probably take even less of an offer if it's close enough than the Lakers offer, just so they don't have to deal with the Lakers. So I do think there's some truth to that.
Yeah, and to me, that's mind-blowing. You look at what's happened in the NBA recently. You look at where the Lakers have been. Sure, they've got the 16 championships and everything, but the Lakers have been out of the playoffs for a while. And hey, look, I get it. If you don't want to trade with the Lakers, that's fine. If you'd rather take a trade from some other team. But of all teams to really prioritize trading with, you're going to not trade with the Lakers on principle so that you can make a deal with Danny freaking Ainge. With Danny Ainge, who has destroyed 2 franchises in the last major deals that he's done. That's the guy that you're going to trust to do. Mind-blowing stuff to me from the New Orleans Pelicans. Although I get their spite towards the Lakers. They feel like there's tampering and all that stuff. But putting your trust in doing a deal with Danny Ainge, to me, just seems like a big mistake.
Well, that's your, that's on your franchise then, right? I mean, if that does happen, and Danny Ainge and the Celtics fleece the Pelicans, that could very well happen. But I'll tell you this, the Pelicans had 7 years with Anthony Davis, and there's a lot of franchises out there. AD, obviously, on a team like the Boston Celtics or a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, will flourish. Mm-hmm. Guys like Jason Tatum maybe won't flourish as much in New Orleans because now he's out of the system, and it's that team ball chemistry is not there, that competitive nature is not there. So you just never know with any of these trades. But I think on the Pelicans end here, they had no interest in making a trade with the Lakers. And I think that when that question was proposed yesterday by Tanya Ganguli of the LA Times to Magic before the Lakers took on the Sixers, do you feel like New Orleans was negotiating good faith? Magic didn't hesitate. He said no, and I think everybody would agree that they reached a point in that in some of those proposals with the Lakers where everyone knew no matter what the Lakers offered, nothing was going to happen.
Yeah, and it really feels like I don't think anyone comes out the better for it. I don't think anyone, whether it's Clutch Sports, the Lakers, the Pelicans, Anthony Davis, I don't think anybody came out of this looking better than they did before this whole disaster.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. I never really actually thought about it that way. I think, from the Lakers' perspective, I think, I spent most of my show talking about how I don't know if, every player on this roster is buying what Magic was selling yesterday before the Lakers versus Sixers game, where he, obviously talked to everybody from the locker room. I don't know if Coach Luke Walton's in a better position now than he was a week ago before all this chatter started. But I think you're right. You can add Clutch Sports to it because I think right now there's a little bit of I'm sure there's a lot of executives out there that are looking at Clutch Sports and Rich Paul saying, here you are trying to take this guy and throw him to the Lakers. The Pelicans, most definitely, since the trade deadline passed, you hear fans booing AD at the games and him not even playing in the fourth quarter where he had 32 points. You're right. I think everybody lost.
That's another thing that we need to get into. So the Pelicans now are kind of they have to play Anthony Davis. He's healthy. He wants to play. They're going to put him in there. But at the same time, it's in their best interest to lose. So what's your take on that? I mean, should the Pelicans be forced to play Anthony Davis? And is this Anthony Davis kind of getting back at them because he's going to go play, he's going to play well, they're going to win some games they wouldn't have otherwise, and that could negatively impact their draft pick, plus you're risking injury potentially to Anthony Davis, which blows up all of their trade plans. What do you think about this incredibly awkward situation now in New Orleans?
Yeah, that's a weird scenario. I forgot to... obviously I know AD wants to play, and I think there is part of him saying, I'm going to stick it to them on my way out the door. But I think, look, if I'm the Pelicans, Lakers have been in this for, 4 years in a row. I know 5 years they haven't made the playoffs, but we've been rooting for the team to lose because we needed draft picks. We needed, obviously lottery picks. A lot of teams are going after Zion. And that's what probably a team like the Pelicans are hoping for, as are the Cavs and the Suns and the Hawks and, the Knicks and a number of other teams. I think the way they dealt with him the last couple of games will be similar, where he didn't play in one fourth quarter, even though he had 32 points through 3 quarters. I think it's going to be a game-by-game basis. I heard something that he won't play in back-to-backs. So I think they're just going to have to, work together. They know that this is a relationship that's coming to an end. It's basically they still live together, but the lease ends in 4 months. So when they gotta stick it out for the rest of the rent, and then when that ends, they'll both part ways.
Alan, if you're the Lakers, do you jump back into this thing? Do you jump back into Anthony Davis trade discussions, or do you think this whole experience soured them so much that they might just stay out of the fray so that they can't be used as leverage? We're going to take a quick break to talk about my favorite brand of razor, Harry's Razors. Harry's is in my bathroom right now. It is a wonderful razor. I've been using it for years now. Harry's Razors are just an incredibly close shave and so easy. They show up right to your door. Makes the whole process simple because I always forget. I tend to forget. I go to the grocery store and I'm not the kind of person who makes lists, and so I always forget to buy razors. So by being a Harry's customer, they show up right to my door and I don't have to worry about forgetting them at the grocery store. It's been a game changer for me, and hopefully you guys will give it a shot as well. So join the 10 million people who have tried Harry's. You can claim your trial offer by going to harrys.com/nation. So Harry's founders were tired of paying for razors that were overpriced and over-designed. They knew a great shave doesn't come from gimmicks like vibrating heads, flex balls, or handles that look like spaceships, tactics that the leading brand has used to raise prices for decades. Instead, Harry's fixed all that by combining a simple, clean design with quality, durable blades at a fair price, and that's what makes Harry's so wonderful. Harry's replacement cartridges are just $2 each. That's half the price of Gillette Fusion Pro Shield. Half the price. You really can't go wrong here, and they come with a 100% quality guarantee. Now, you can get a $13 value trial set. that comes with everything you need for a close, comfortable shave. It's a weighted ergonomic handle, a 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, a rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover everything that you need for a great shave. And listeners of my show can redeem their trial at harrys.com/nation. So again, head over to harrys.com/nation, redeem your trial offer. It's a $13 value. Let them know I sent you. You help support our show by going to harrys.com/nation, and you get a great razor at a great price. So go check it out again one more time, harrys.com/nation.
Well, listen, as I think Magic Johnson, he used the word a few times yesterday, talked about how, everybody's got to be professional. I do think that the way Magic does business, I think he is one of those that has that mentality of nothing's personal, it's business. I don't think he'll take it personal. I mean, I think there'll be a little animosity towards the Pelicans, but if his end goal is still to get Anthony Davis, then you know what? Why not kind of hear what's out there? This is what's going to be the advantage come summer. When you're in the season and there's going to be microphones in front of Coach Luke Walton before every game and after game, and then there's going to be microphones in front of B.I. and Kuz and Zoe and JaVale McGee and Rajon Rondo, that's a mess. And that's what I think the Lakers were dealing with for, obviously these last couple of weeks. At least when you're in the summer, things can get done much more private. And that's not to say that there aren't Woj bombs or Shams Jeremiah dropping out some information from The Athletic. But the good thing is come summertime, that's not going to be the case where it's going to get, at least from, you have to interview players and you're in the heart of the season and you're trying to make the playoffs. So in a long-winded answer, if it makes sense to jump back into those conversations, why wouldn't the Lakers jump in? I mean, they went all in right here before the trade deadline, and it felt like 70% of their roster was rumored in a trade for Anthony Davis.
Yeah, if not higher. I mean, I feel like almost everyone's name was in there at some point. I think it's going to be really fascinating to see if they do jump back into it, what their offer is.
You almost got traded, Trev. You almost were doing
I could have been traded. I could have been indoor. I could have been eating gumbo close right now. We may have been sitting in New Orleans at this point. We may have been traded, Alan. That's how many pieces we're going to get thrown into this.
At least we would have been familiar with the roster, because 90% of the team would have been on the Pelicans.
That's right. I would have been right back on Randall Island after getting traded to the Pelicans. That's for sure. Oh man, Alan, let's talk about the trades that did get made. I guess the Svi Mykhailiuk trade for Reggie Bullock, I have no problems with that, and I'm assuming that you probably don't either. I mean, I feel like Reggie Bullock, in my mind, he's basically what you're hoping Svi would eventually turn into. And there's no guarantee that Svi is going to become that. He's on a cost-controlled contract, so he's the younger player. You understand that. The Lakers gave up a second-round pick just as kind of the price of doing business, and they got a guy who's a little bit more ready to help them right now. Seems like a pretty cut-and-dry deal, and I can understand why the Lakers did it. Any pushback there from you, or were you on board with the trade as well?
Pelinka talked with Mike Bresnahan for Spectrum Sportsnet on Thursday, so this was after the trade deadline. And one thing really stuck out in my mind. He said that that as much as he likes Svi Mykhailiuk, thinks he's going to be a good player in the NBA, he's just not ready. And they need players that are ready for right now. Is that not just the exact foundation of everything that's been going on for the last 2 weeks? It really, I think that not only sums up the Svi Mykhailiuk to the Pistons and Reggie Bullock to the Lakers, it sums up the entire trade deadline. The Lakers were shopping young players for one reason and one reason only. It's not that they didn't think they were talented. It's not that they didn't think they have a lot of potential. It's they don't fall in a LeBron James window. And that's what it all comes down to. It's LeBron James's window. They're not looking too far after that. I mean, of course, Anthony Davis, that's a different story. That's going to be a foundational player. But I thought the Reggie Bullock trade is the right trade. I think it makes sense. I think it will help the Lakers. I think it's a huge, huge need to have that shooter. But I think, listening to Pelinka, it really summed up what is really the kind of the foundation and the basis of what's happening to this roster right now. Guys will be let go. some of them during the trade deadline, some of them this summer, because they don't fall in that window of LeBron James.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and I get it. I know why the Lakers do. I mean, hey, I didn't want to see Svi go. Alan, you and I were sitting at Summer League, and we were watching Svi Mikhailiuk and how well he played. And there's that, you develop that attachment, and you want to see him do well. But I understand why the Lakers made this move. Now, in contrast, I haven't gotten your take on this yet, but Alan, I do not understand the Ivica Zubac trade for Mike Muscala. I get, hey, the need for a shooter, but just everything around it, it does not make sense to me that they gave up the younger player, the cheaper player, who I think is the better player in Ivica Zubac, to the team that they're chasing for a playoff spot. Mm-hmm. They give the Clippers their brand new starting center, and they get back a situational guy in Mike Muscala, who I have nothing against Mike Muscala. I think he's a good player. I just don't think the return was right. It feels like there should have been a pick or something coming back for the Lakers, and I feel like they kind of got the low end of the deal here. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one? Because this one is a massive head scratcher to me.
So part of this, the only thing I can think of is this. Obviously, the Lakers included Beasley in that deal. They have a roster available. They have a roster spot available now. So part of it, that obviously has something to do with it. At the same time, Zubac will be owed some money, and he'll be a restricted free agent. I have to look at just kind of the details. The only thing I could think of from the Lakers is they may think that Zubac will get some money in that open market, like you're talking about now. And me just doing the Lakers show, I got a few calls of what the hell happened with Zubac. Like, why did he get dealt in this whole thing? And I think that's a fair argument. And then of course to be shipped to the Clippers. I don't have an answer for you. I think Zubac provided a legitimate big man that can actually, it kind of takes you back a little old school. Zubac has a little bit of an old school type of game where, as much as, yes, the game is expanding and big men are shooting threes and everything else, it's still good to have somebody with a low post presence, and Zubac can hit free throws. He's got some nice touch around the basket. Mike Muscala, it's not a name that I would say, if somebody told me a week ago the Lakers got Muscala and Zubac was the trade for it, I would be scratching my head saying, what are you talking about? Like, why would we do that?
Right.
And Muscala has some strengths because he can stretch the floor. The Zubac thing, I think, is a question mark for a lot of Laker fans out there. And look, all these deals, the deals that didn't get done or the deals that got done, these next 2 months for the Lakers as they try and get into that playoff picture, because they're on the outside looking in right now, there will be some criticism or some praise to the front office based upon what happens over these next couple of months.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, hey, Mike Muscala comes in and he hits a bunch of threes and he provides a stretch option and the Lakers are benefited by it. Then of course that'll silence all the critics. Then I'll totally get it and everything. I just feel like from a value standpoint, they didn't get good value, and especially it's dangerous giving the Clippers their new starting center and a guy who could possibly stick long term. But the deal is done, and you mentioned the next few weeks and how difficult they're going to be and how we're going to find out a lot about this team. As of right now, if I'm doing my math correctly here, we've got 26 games left, Alan. What do you think about the Lakers' playoff push? Are they going to make the playoffs? I'm at the point where I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. Where are you at on all of this?
So you're 2 games back from the Sacramento Kings. Clippers lost today to Minnesota, right. So they fell back. Sacramento is now the team that you're chasing. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna kind of put this in a couple different ways. I've convinced myself mentally that they because it's so important they make the playoffs, that I've just convinced myself they're going to make the playoffs. This talk about
speak it into existence.
Talk about letting the fan kind of take over, right? But it's like. But here's the reality. It's so important and it's so imperative that they get into the postseason. And the Clippers and the Kings are the teams in front of them. You have LeBron James. Hopefully by the time the All-Star, you're going to have this great stretch of 8-9 days off. Guys can, get healthy a little bit. The trade deadline is out of the way. Guys can kind of clear their head and just be prepared for this final stretch run. They don't have to worry about trades. They don't have to worry about anything until the summer. They can just focus on getting into the postseason. And like, many Laker fans obviously understand, they've been so beat up. Maybe Lonzo Ball comes back, sooner than later. Lonzo was 4 to 6 weeks was his timeline. I know by Saturday, the 23rd, that will be 5 weeks, and there would only be one game after the All-Star break. That's the game against the Rockets before that. I say all this because there's no excuses. I mean, everything that we've made excuses for of why the Lakers, are sitting at 500 right now, or this has come up and that's come up. It's been suspensions and the trade talk and the injuries. All that stuff is over. If you're telling me the Lakers with LeBron and this healthy young core can't get past the Clippers and the Sacramento Kings to get into the postseason, then we got much bigger problems than the playoffs. I 100% expect them to get in.
I agree. I think that they should. But the Sacramento Kings are not playing like the Sacramento Kings of seasons past. They're playing much better basketball. They are well above 500 at this point. And the Clippers, everybody says, they're tanking because they traded Tobias Harris. No, I think they got an upgrade at the center in Zubats. I think they got an upgrade over Avery Bradley at the 2 and Garrett Temple. And then they got a nice young guy coming off the bench that can shoot in Landry Shamet. And they've been doing a really good job of coming back in games where you think they're down. I mean, they were down 28 to the Boston Celtics, and they came back and won. I don't think it's a gimme that these teams are just going to fall away. I think the Lakers are going to have to beat them. And I think that's going to be key. They've got 3 games. They've got 2 games against the Clippers, 1 game against the Kings. I think they have to win all 3 of those. But what do you think, in addition to winning those 3 games, how many of these remaining 26 do you think they have to win in order to get there?
So I think I heard somebody was mentioning to me Tracy McGrady said I think they got to go like 18-8 to get to that win total that got into the postseason last year. If you remember, I think it was Minnesota and Denver that were fighting for that final spot. It came down the last remaining regular season game. This is assuming the Lakers beat the Atlanta Hawks tomorrow, and then obviously looking forward. Look, you got to have there needs to be that they win 8 of 10 games. That 8-2 over a 10-game stretch, or that 7-9 over or 7-2 over a 9-game stretch. When's the last time we had one of those? I can't remember the last time the Lakers went on a stretch like that. But that's what they need. If you're going to get into the postseason, like you're right, I'm not sitting here telling you that the Kings and the Clippers are going to roll over for the Lakers. What I'm telling you is, like you mentioned, they should beat them. Now, will they? That's a whole other question there. I'm actually very curious to see how this team responds to all that noise that went on over the last 2 weeks, because it's one thing where I think it's become apparent to every player on this roster. A lot of you are used as trade bait to just go out and get bigger fish, because that's what these players were used for, come the trade deadline. Well, they'll all be pulling the rope in the same direction. I think there's some legitimate concerns of, will this team play as individuals and worry about themselves, or will they play as a team? That's a question that I don't have an answer to, but I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on the Lakers over these last couple of months to see that. Are they buying what Magic is selling? Are they going to put themselves in a spot where they can at least walk into mid-April where they're playing some meaningful games for the first time in 5-6 years?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to be so critical for them to make the playoffs. I've seen some people commenting on, Twitter and all that maybe they're better off not making the playoffs and having a better draft pick. No, that's not. I don't think that should even be a consideration at this point. This team needs to make the playoffs. And you mentioned running off a stretch of 8-2 over their last 10 right now. They're 3-7. Now, some of that came without LeBron James, but things are going to have to change here in order for them to really make this push and really put some pressure on the Clippers and on the Kings. And we know they can do it. We know this team was the 4 seed before they got hit by all of these injuries. It wasn't just LeBron's injury. It was Kuzma, it was Lonzo, it was JaVale McGee, it was Brandon Ingram, everybody.
Rondo.
Yes, Rondo's injuries. All these guys that they really couldn't afford to lose, they lost. And so now they're just recovering from it.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm sitting here saying Lakers got to go 8-2 in their next 10, and you're telling me they're 3-7 in their last 10. So that just shows, that the significant change that needs to happen in order for the Lakers to just get back on the right track. And Trav, it's been it's also been kind of an overwhelming couple of weeks. I started off my show with this. It's kind of like, here we are talking about things so many topics around the Lakers. Unfortunately, they don't have to do with basketball, I mean, I'm sorry, they don't have to do with on the court, So
Right.
Lakers gave up 143 points yesterday. They gave up 128 to Boston. They gave up 136 to Indiana. That's their last 3 games. But we're not talking about, how the Lakers got to improve on defense, how these guys are going to gel together. We're just, there's this unfortunate picture around the Lakers right now that's it's not a positive picture, and it's obviously going to be key for them to try and figure it out because they don't have that much time. Like you said, you come back from this All-Star break, you lose 3-4 games in a row, that could be your season. That can legitimately be your season, and hopefully we're not having a conversation like that in 2-3 weeks or so.
Guys, we're going to take a quick break to talk about Hopsy. Now, what is Hopsy? Hopsy is basically Keurig for beer. It's a very, very easy to use system that brings beer on tap to the comfort of your own home without the price tag that many beer drinkers have come to expect. Whether you're a hophead, malt mouth, or palate partier, you can enjoy a variety of beer styles from big and small breweries, which rotates monthly. So there's always something new coming your way. They partner with a long list of breweries and ship mini kegs to your home or office. Very, very cool thing to have. I've already had a ton of my friends asking me about it and asking me about how it all works and everything. It really is a cool system. And I'll admit, I'm not even a huge beer drinker, but Hopsy has really caught my attention and been something that I have thoroughly enjoyed and would definitely recommend that you guys give it a shot. Check it out. And the cool thing is you can get a special offer here for my listeners. Go to tryhopsy.com/LakersNation and you use the promo code LakersNation to get the sub home draft machine. You get 2 mini kegs of beer, which is the equivalent of 2 6-packs, 2 Hopsy glasses, and free membership in the monthly beer club for $99. Terms and condition applies. Again, I highly recommend them. That's tryhopsy, tryhopsy.com/LakersNation, and then use that promo code LakersNation. Get the sub home draft machine. You'll love it. Your friends will love it. You get the 2 mini kegs of beer. You get the 2 glasses. It really is a great deal. Go check it out. tryhopsy.com/LakersNation. Well, and this is why the LeBron injury really hit at an unfortunate time for the Lakers, because it hit when they actually had an easy schedule. And those were the games where they really needed to pad their record by running off 8 wins in a row or whatever. And instead they wind up losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers, to the New York Knicks, to the Timberwolves a couple of times. They're losing games that they would have won otherwise. And so this is where this is coming into play, where people were telling me I was crazy for being upset with them losing those games. This is where it all becomes a factor now here down the stretch. If they had those few extra wins to pad their record, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about them having to go 8-2 in order to make the playoffs.
Trev, it's not like they're playing flawless basketball either. Let's just look yesterday versus Philadelphia. This time of the year, Coach Luke Walton is talking about how the team needs to get its passion back on defense. Like that. You just don't feel like these are conversations you should be having in mid-February. But that's the reality for the Lakers right now. So, like you mentioned, it's some of those games that they could have won, and then it's also what's your identity right now. Unfortunately for the Lakers, I still think they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it does seem that way, especially, and I guess that's understandable because when we look at the season, they've got 11 games that they've played with a fully healthy squad. 11, that's it. Every other game, there's been at least one major piece missing. So, of course, they're going to be trying to figure things out. But at the same time, this team has to make the playoffs. I mean, you can't get LeBron James and then not the media will be ruthless this season.
Oh, yeah.
If the Lakers don't make the playoffs with LeBron James on their roster.
And think about how other teams will use that against the Lakers, obviously, this offseason. You don't want to go to a team. You're a free agent. You don't want to go to that team. That team can't even make the playoffs. LeBron's already getting injured. They can't make a postseason run. That's why I've said it's so critical for the Lakers to make the playoffs, because it's not as much to do with just this season, even though there's a lot of importance to getting your young players to get experience in the postseason. Who knows? Like you said, there was a point where they were healthy. Polanco was talking about it just a couple days ago that you don't want to face us in the 7-game set. Maybe Lakers can make some noise in the playoffs. I think that's part of the mentality too. You get LeBron in there, but I think it's just as important because you want to make a case for this summer with other free agents that if we add you to this team, we can make a run at a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the argument they want to be able to make, and this team does have that potential. That's not outside the realm of possibility. As much as we've said, oh, they're 3-7 in their last 10, and things haven't been looking good, and they're struggling on defense, especially without Lonzo. Those things are all true, but it's also possible for them to turn things around and for them to really get things going. And heading into the season, I remember on different shows talking about this was going to be the tough part. When you get into the dog days of the season, do guys start sniping at each other? Do guys start thinking about the fact that their contract's expiring and they need to get a new contract? Is that going to be an issue? Are they going to continue to play team ball? Are they going to gel together? I'm sure Rob Pelinka would have some amazing analogy, some biblical reference here that would apply. But are they going to come together, or are they going to fracture and split apart at this point?
Yeah, that's what we're all going to find out, right? I mean, this is a moment of truth, and I really firmly believe this. Everything that the front office has done, them trying to go all in for AD, Coach Luke Walton's future with the Los Angeles Lakers, the young core, all of this over the next 2 months, we're going to find out if this organization is on the right path or if there's some fractures in that foundation.
Absolutely. And you know what, Alan? Here, I'm gonna throw an analogy out here, and I'll do my own little Rob Pelinka spiel on this one. I'm gonna go American Revolution with this. There was a guy named Thomas Paine that wrote a lot to try to inspire the Patriots, the Americans to rebel against the British. And when things were going bad, he wrote something called The Crisis. And he wrote this piece trying to convince American soldiers to not desert, to not take off and leave the Patriot Army and leave George Washington and to stick it out. And he wrote about how the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of his country. But he, and I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, but he who... Gosh, I don't remember the exact word. He who sticks it out now, essentially, is what he says, deserves our love and thanks. Basically saying, if you're the front runner, if you're the summer soldier, if you're the one who's only playing hard when things are going well, that's not the person we need. We need that person who, when things are tough, when things are at their worst, when it's really go time, that person is still there and still fighting and not even thinking about leaving. That's what the Lakers need to do. They need to find that guy that is going to scrap right now, and Luke Walton's going to have to figure out who that is in his rotation. Who can handle the pressure, who can do what it takes to get them over the hump and get them into the playoffs. And that's I mean, it's a weird parallel to make, I suppose, American Revolution to NBA basketball, but it is what it is. The sentiment is still the same. They need to find the guys who have the toughness to battle through the dog days of the season and get the job done.
I think there's something to that. I mean, let's just use this as an example. There's 4 or 5 players for the Lakers that are, obviously young pieces, and specifically the Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, and Brandon Ingram. I think, there could be a player or two that stands out after the trade deadline. And it's not just from a basketball perspective. Maybe somebody that, really, really proves to this organization that, look, I want to be here. I should be on this team come the summer. You can talk about other players and look at doing other deals, but I'm not one you should let go of. And if you do let go, you're going to regret it. And something like that could come out of this, right? And I'm not saying that, one player will stick out more than another, but everybody's got different personalities. Everybody's got different goals. I wouldn't be shocked or surprised if there is a player or two out of these young 4 that, the Lakers decide, you know what, we were trying to shop this guy before. We won't be trying to shop him moving forward.
God, that's such a great point, especially, going back to the whole Anthony Davis thing. Who's to say that the Lakers offer won't change because some of these young guys may really prove themselves to be even better than we thought? That's always possible, especially given the opportunity that they're going to have here. I mean, we already have seen Kyle Kuzma has picked up his game. Brandon Ingram has been playing better lately. He's been playing better basketball on both ends of the floor. It's entirely possible that the Lakers will come out of this stretch feeling like they can build around some of these guys rather than just use them as trade chips moving forward.
Yeah, and that's going to be a fun couple months to see what these guys are all about, and then hopefully another month of postseason basketball after that.
Alan, let's finish up on this. The buyout market. So we know that right now the Lakers have an open roster spot from that Ivica Zubac trade. They traded Beasley and Zubac and only brought back one player in Mike Muscala. So now they have an open roster spot. There's a number of guys out there. We've been hearing a lot of different names. We've been hearing Enes Kanter and Markieff Morris and, of course, Carmelo Anthony and a bunch of other guys. What do you think the team really needs to find in the buyout market? And is there anybody that you think is in the lead to become the Lakers' last player that they add to the roster in the next, well, it could happen anytime now?
So, listen, I think the Lakers, their strategy at the trade deadline, they went out and got shooters. They went out and tried to, just really kind of take a need that the Lakers had. They don't have these knockdown three-point shooters. Muscala will stretch the floor a little bit. Reggie Bullock, more of a catch and shoot, but can also create for himself. They needed shooting. But I think another piece that the Lakers are missing is that tough guy, the guy that kind of is the anchor and can, look, Meta World Peace played that for the Lakers for a while. The Lakers always had kind of a tough guy mentality, even when they were winning championships. And I think a lot of, teams that get deep in the playoffs have that. I don't think the Lakers have it. And I think Markieff Morris, I've always liked watching these Morris twins, and it's not because they're going to give you a triple-double every game or give you 25 points a game, but I think they fill a need and a role that kind of takes me back to old-school basketball. Lakers don't have a tough guy. I mean, maybe there's someone on that roster I mean, Rondo's a tough player, but Rondo is a point guard, and I think that, having that tough guy that's a 6'8", 6'9" guy, I really, really like Markieff Morris on this Lakers team, and if there's a player that stands out to me, he's more defensive-minded. I mean, just look at Carmelo versus Markieff. Markieff's going to do the small things, the little things. He's going to, put guys on there, if they drive to the basket. He's going to get a couple technical fouls. He's going to be in other players' faces. He has a toughness to the Lakers that they don't currently have. And to compare him to what Carmelo Anthony will bring to the table, it's not even close, in my opinion. I'd love to have, that Morris twin on the Lakers roster.
Agreed. And hey, if the Celtics have one, it's only right that the Lakers have the other one, right?
That'd be perfect. That'd be perfect.
Hey, and I suppose it probably doesn't hurt that he is a client of Rich Paul. He is with Clutch Sports, so I mean, there's a natural link here already with Markieff Morris and the Lakers.
Well, hopefully that's a path to get here. The last one didn't go our way, but at least with this one, they don't have to negotiate with another team.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have to worry about anyone else's agenda. It's just, is this a good fit for Markieff Morris? Now, the question that I've been getting asked a lot is, okay, if you bring in Markieff Morris, where do his minutes come from? What do you do in order to get him into the rotation? Are you gonna, because in order to get him to come, you're gonna have to tell him, hey, we're going to play you. He's gonna want to play minutes out there. What do you do, Alan, in order to get him minutes? Because someone has to lose playing time in order to make room for him if he does join the Lakers.
I think, there's a lot of times what just happens structurally in the NBA right now. You're going to face teams like the Houston Rockets where, maybe JaVale McGee and Tyson Chandler don't make sense for, long stretches of the game. There are a lot of teams out there that I think you're going to find opportunities for, whether the Lakers are going small or LeBron is playing the 3 and Markieff is playing the 4, they'll find a way. I think right now for the Lakers, it's much more important to just find players that they think can be productive to the overall goal of what the team is trying to accomplish. That's all that matters right now for the Lakers. I mean, individuals won't get you anywhere, and the Lakers right now are dying for players that are just there for the big picture in the team. I think hopefully he's sold on the fact that, hey, we're a player like you away from really kind of continuing to build what we thought we had come Christmas night. And when we're 6 games over 500, we think you can help us get back to that point. And, we'll see if he buys into that.
Hopefully that's the sales pitch that they're making. And hopefully by the time, it could be by the time people are listening to this podcast, Markieff Morris could be a Laker, or I guess he could be the other teams that we're hearing rumored are the Houston Rockets and the Toronto Raptors. But, I do feel like you're right on. He is the guy that I would want out of all the buyout candidates. I hope he's the direction they go with. I have a feeling that if Markieff Morris is off the table, they're going to wind up with Carmelo Anthony. And I'm not saying that can't work, but I'd much rather have Markieff Morris just like you would, Alan.
Well, from a basketball perspective, I do definitely feel like it's Markieff Morris. If it is Carmelo Anthony, the storylines just continue. But again, I don't know if that's the best fit for the Lakers. But LeBron has been on record saying that he can get the most out of Carmelo Anthony. And I don't question that from LeBron, but I think that for what the Lakers need, another tough guy would be much more adequate, especially because you just signed 2 shooters. You got 2 guys that you think are going to fill in a role that you felt like you needed.
Right. So now you don't have to focus so much on a shooter, and that makes sense with Wesley Matthews off the table, and he went to the Pacers, and of course Wayne Ellington went to the Pistons. So the shooters are gone. So you just got to try to find that one piece that you think can fit the best out of what's left, and I think that's going to be Markieff Morris. Hopefully it does get done. Alan, so you just did your Lakers talk show on ESPN. Came here, joined me it's been almost an hour now that we've been going. Thank you so much for coming on here and doing this, man. Truly appreciate it.
You got it, Trevor. I'm just going to talk to myself in the wall and just continue to talk Lakers basketball.
Hearing me talking to the wall about Luke Walton's future. That's the next topic. Right?
There you go. No, man. Hey, I appreciate you asking me to come on. Thank you.
Hey, always a good time when Alan comes on. Gotta enjoy it. Alan, I gotta mention this here. You gotta make sure you guys go follow Alan on Twitter. You can follow him at Lakers Talk ESPN. And I'm being a bad host here, Alan. I don't have it in front of me. Your Instagram account, I feel like, is severely underrated. You've got a ton of followers, but I don't remember what your Instagram handle is.
No problem. Same thing, at Lakers Talk
Okay.
ESPN for both Twitter and Instagram.
All right, guys. So make sure you go follow Alan on both Twitter and Instagram, and of course, don't forget to tune in to Lakers Talk on ESPN 710. Guys, been a fun show. Tons of stuff to go over. Obviously, we covered a ton of topics, and hopefully the Lakers do pick up this win against the Atlanta Hawks, and then head in to All-Star Weekend and get healthy above all else. That's going to be really, really important. Hey, before I get out of here, don't forget, guys, every night, after every single game, I should say, we are doing the Lakers Nation post-game show. That goes on. We go live on Facebook as soon as the game ends. You join in, we chat, we go back and forth. You throw in your comments. It's a ton of fun. So come check us out on the Lakers Nation Facebook page, and we'll continue doing those live shows so that we can interact directly with all of our listeners. And of course, guys, don't forget to go follow Lakers Nation on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Lakers Nation. You can follow us at Lakers Nation Official on Instagram, and of course, the Lakers Nation Facebook page. And don't forget about YouTube as well. Our YouTube channel is a ton of fun to work on, so always appreciate when you guys go follow us on there. All right, till next time, guys. My name's Trevor Lane. Follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane, and we'll be right back at it again after the All-Star break. See ya.